The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, Otto Bismarck, and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of Civil Defiance, its production team, or its affiliates. This podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is provided as is, without any guarantee of accuracy, completeness, or applicability of the information presented. Listeners are solely responsible for their use of this information and should not rely upon the content as professional, legal, or financial advice. By listening, you acknowledge that you are proceeding at your own risk, and that Civil Defiance disclaims all liability for any actions taken or not taken based on the information provided herein. Welcome back to Civil Defiance. I am your host, Otto Bismarck, and today we tackle one of the greatest psychological traps of modern politics, the myth of the heroic march. You are told that to be a political force, you must be loud, you must be visible, you must take to the streets, scream your lungs raw, carry your signs, and have your anger splashed across the nightly news. This, they say, is what democracy looks like. I am here to tell you that this is a calculated lie. The march, the protest, the scream of outrage, it is not a threat to the establishment. It is a controlled containment system. It is a pressure release valve designed by the very forces you claim to oppose. The Uni-Party, that self-serving bipartisan cartel of bureaucrats, lobbyists, and media mouthpieces, they don't fear your anger when it's expressed in a predictable designated zone. They count on it. Think about it. When you march, what happens? You give them data. They count you. They film you. They catalog your energy and your demographics. They measure your threat level. You burn your energy. You exhaust your emotional and physical capital in an exercise that changes nothing, leaving you satisfied that you did something. You normalize their narrative. The media immediately frames the event, labeling you, dismissing you, and using the fringe elements you brought with you to discredit the entire movement. The noise of a protest is a distraction. It is the thunder, but not the lightning. It is the spectacle they want you to engage in, because as long as you are screaming in the streets, you are not doing the actual, quiet, destructive work that they truly fear. The truth is simple, brutal, and essential. Silence is a more powerful weapon against the Uni-Party than any march could ever be. Let's talk about the technical failure of the loud protest. We live in the age of the administrative state, a giant faceless bureaucracy run by algorithms and data analysis. When you march, you are feeding the beast. The Uni-Party's data collection apparatus isn't worried about the slogans on your sign. They are analyzing the patterns of your behavior. They are using facial recognition to build profiles. They are using cell tower pings to identify the leaders. They are using the collective noise to pinpoint the precise location of the political opposition. You are self-reporting for surveillance. The march is a noise tax levied on your energy. You pay a high price in time, effort, and exposure. And for what? The politician you are protesting goes to a fundraiser, glances at the headlines, and instructs their staff to file your predictable rage alongside all the other predictable data. They expect the noise. They budget for the noise. They have a response drafted for the noise before you even leave your house. But what if you remove the data? What if you cease to be a predictable, quantifiable threat? Silence denies them data. It replaces a measurable, time-bound explosion of energy with an invisible, omnipresent force. When an entire voting bloc refuses to engage in the expected rituals of outrage, the Uni-Party is blinded. They cannot measure it. They cannot catalog it. They cannot preempt it. They cannot use the media to spin it. Noise is an easy enemy to defeat. Silence is an ambush. It is a conspiracy of noncompliance that spreads beneath the surface, operating on a frequency the bureaucrats and the media cannot detect. The Uni-Party operates through mandates and consensus. They need you to acknowledge their authority, even if you are shouting against it. The protest is, ironically, a form of validation. It shows them you still believe their political theater matters enough to disrupt your life over it. The power of silence, however, is the power of total noncompliance. Think of the historical examples that truly broke power structures. It wasn't always the loudest event, it was the coordinated refusal to participate, the empty seat, the refusal to show up, not in a physical protest, but a refusal to buy the product, pay the tax, watch the media, or click the link. This is the silence that starves the beast. The intellectual retreat, the refusal to engage in the digital outrage machine, the refusal to feed the algorithms, the refusal to donate your time and emotional energy to their prefabricated arguments. You don't argue with the propaganda, you starve the propaganda of an audience. The local focus, silence on the national stage allows for deafening action at the local level. While the media and the Uni-Party are distracted by the loud, predictable national demonstration, you and your neighbors are quietly taking over the school board, auditing the county election rolls, and defunding the local enforcement of federal mandates. The silence at the top creates the perfect cover for the silent coup at the foundation. A march says, "We are angry and we demand you change." A conspiracy of silence says, "We no longer acknowledge your legitimacy and we are building our own world without your permission." Which one is truly a threat to the established order? The loud demand for recognition or the quiet total withdrawal of consent? The most insidious betrayal of the loud march is the inevitable media hijacking. The corporate media, the primary propaganda arm of the Uni-Party, is not there to cover your protest. They are there to frame it. The media needs conflict, chaos, and a villain. Your average, peaceful, well-intentioned march is boring, but the one lunatic with the most offensive sign, this single altercation with law enforcement, that's the story. That's the clip that runs on repeat. They will take your message of legitimate grievance and instantly translate it into one of two things: a tantrum of the marginalized. Your demands are dismissed as the irrational screeching of a minority who are too extreme to be taken seriously. A threat to order. Your peaceful assembly is instantly reframed as insurrectionist or dangerous, justifying the inevitable crackdown or censorship to follow. Your noise becomes their weapon. You provide the fuel, and the media sets the fire in the direction that benefits the Uni-Party. You hand them the perfect tool to drive the wedge deeper, to terrify the neutral observers, and to solidify their control over the narrative. But silence is unframeable. It is an absence that the media cannot fill with their talking points. They can't film a non-event. They can't spin a collective, strategic decision to not participate. When the people simply vanish from the public stage, when the traditional signals of political energy disappear, the media's noise machine has nothing to feed on but its own pre-recorded echoes. It exposes the propaganda as mere filler. The protest is a show for the cameras. Silence is the removal of the audience. Let's move from the negatives of noise to the positives of silence. What does a silent revolution actually look like? It looks like the revolution of the quiet hand. It is a revolution waged in the shadows of the Uni-Party's attention, where they least expect the fight. The quiet exit, the economic silence. You stop feeding the financial ecosystem that funds the Uni-Party and their globalist handlers. You silently deprioritize all corporate entities that push the ideological mandates you despise. You move your money out of the megabanks and into local community institutions. You don't announce it, you just do it. This quiet exit is a financial death by 1,000 cuts for the elite. They cannot call you terrorists for switching banks. They cannot label you extremists for buying local. It is an unassailable act of civil defiance. The quiet rebuilding the educational silence. You pull your children out of the state-run indoctrination centers. You don't hold a massive, loud protest at the school board. You simply withdraw your student and silently create an alternative network of home or co-op education. When the state-run schools are left with empty seats and falling budgets, the silence of your withdrawal speaks volumes that no amount of shouting ever could. The quiet gathering, the social silence. You stop wasting time on the digital public square that monitors and controls your thoughts. You silently turn off the platform and instead focus on creating real world, private, trusted communities, the kind the Uni-Party cannot spy on, censor, or infiltrate. You build resilience through connection that is beyond the reach of the algorithm. The quiet hand does not ask permission. It does not demand change. It simply creates the alternative structure and allows the old, corrupt system to wither into irrelevance. This is the essence of true revolutionary power. The greatest vulnerability of the Uni-Party is its reliance on predictability. The entire machine is built on knowing the precise inputs and outputs of political conflict. They know that if they push this policy, the opposition will organize that march, and the media will run that headline, and the political cycle will spin exactly as programmed. Your loud anger is a programmed response. It's the expected script. Your silence is a programming error. It is the unpredictable, asymmetrical action that defeats the automated defense system. Imagine the confusion in the DC echo chambers. They drop a controversial mandate and nothing. No massive organized march. No viral hashtag. No coordinated media counterattack. Just an enormous, deafening silence across the populace. The bureaucrat, why is there no protest? Did we miscalculate the opposition? The media strategist, we can't find a villain. We have no images of chaos. How do we run a story on an absent resistance? The politician, the Uni-Party puppet. They must be organizing something massive. This silence is terrifying. What is the unseen threat we can't quantify? The moment you become unpredictable, you gain the upper hand. When you withdraw the easy, measurable expression of your rage, you force the Uni-Party to operate in the dark, to guess, and to overreact. An overreaction from a system built on subtle manipulation is always a spectacular failure. Silence is the intelligence failure of the deep state. There is a profound moral and spiritual component to this as well. The loud protest is often a sign of desperation. It is the cry of a victim asking the perpetrator to stop. The Uni-Party wants you to remain in that desperate state. They want you to believe that you are powerless unless you are yelling. Silence, when chosen, is a mark of moral certainty and ultimate power. It says, I have moved beyond the need to convince you. I have already made my decision. I have found my truth, and it does not require your validation or your response. When you hold a truly controversial conviction, a truth that defies the approved consensus, and you refuse to debate it on their terms, you force the opposition to confront the uncomfortable legitimacy of your belief. Your quiet certainty is a psychological barrier they cannot cross with their noise. Think of the person who simply refuses to wear the mask, refuses the digital ID, or refuses to sell their soul for a government handout. They don't need to argue with the clerk, the cop, or the bureaucrat. Their resistance is an act of silent, nonviolent personal sovereignty. It is a refusal to be assimilated into the system of compliance. This is the highest form of civil defiance. It is the complete withdrawal of your inner consent, the one thing the Uni-Party needs to legitimize its rule. Without your consent, their power is an empty spectacle. So, let the fools march, let the media feed its frenzy, let the Uni-Party strategize for the loud, predictable wave of opposition that never comes. We will not be there. Our civil defiance is not a moment of manufactured outrage. It is a permanent state of noncompliance. Our final call to action is not to mobilize. It is to demobilize from their system. It is a call to exit and build. Exit the systems that control your thought, the centralized media, the social media censorship platforms, the mainstream news cycle. Build your own information network, your own library of forbidden knowledge, and your own independent sources of truth. Exit the systems that control your money, the mega banks, the CBDC pushers, the corporate giants that enforce political mandates. Build parallel economies, local trade networks, and decentralized systems of value that they cannot track or shut down. Exit the systems that control your future, the federal education centers, the overregulated industries, the bureaucratic maze. Build resilient local communities, independent schools, and private agreements between sovereign individuals. The march is a request for their attention. The silent revolution is a declaration of independence. It is the realization that the Uni-Party only has power over you if you continue to acknowledge their theater and scream on their stage. Stop giving them your energy. Stop giving them your data. Stop giving them your consent. Go silent. Go private. Go local. Be ungovernable by becoming invisible to their machine. This silent strategic withdrawal of consent, this coordinated non-compliance across every facet of life, it is the single strategy that the Uni-Party has no defense against, because you cannot defeat an enemy that refuses to engage on your terms and instead simply disappears to build a better world right outside the walls of your corrupt, rotting empire. This is the true meaning of civil defiance. We don't need a louder voice. We need a strategic, deafening silence that paralyzes their ability to react. This is Otto Bismarck, and this is civil defiance. Go dark, go quiet, go free.